3, 4,
5,
6,
7,
8.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. My name is Kenneth Bourgeois. I'll be giving my informative speech on the MARSOC Marines, otherwise known as Raiders, back in the day. MARSOC trains, organized, equips, and when directed by the commander, United States Special Operation Command deploys task-organized, scalable, and responsive U.S. Marine Corps Special Operation Forces in support of combatant commanders and other agencies. So how the Raiders, that's how they were known back in the day, came to be was in summer of 1942. They needed some expediting done to get things done in the East Islands of Japan. They appointed 2 individuals, Lieutenant Colonel Merritt Edson with the 1st Raider Battalion, which is on the West Coast, and Major Evans Carlson, the 2nd Raider Battalion on the East Coast. Additionally, President Franklin D. Roosevelt's son also served as the executive officer as the 2nd Raider Battalion, or for the 2nd Raider Battalion, excuse me. Many didn't agree with this because obviously Marines are amphibious in nature. We do swim quals. We're able to enter through the water. We have amphibious assault vehicles. Even back in that day we did. And to enter in a beach, it was not a big deal for us. So a lot of people, like I said, there was a lot of turmoil basically boiling up over this topic. And one man, Chester Nimitz, who was the commander-in-chief of the Pacific Fleet, said, "Here I was presented with a unit which I had not requested and which I had not planned." And that kind of sets the mood for these guys. And they're like, hey, we don't really need you guys, but I guess, you know, the big dog up top said we need you. So let's do it. All right, so 1st Raider Battalion conducted their first mission August 14, 1942. Basically, they were brought into a landing zone in World War I aircrafts, which was behind the scale back in that day because we're in the World War II era. They fought the Japanese behind enemy lines. They were successful, and they came back. At least that's what all the documents say. And then Edison's battalion conducted the 2nd mission. Edison is the one who's on the East Coast. He discovered intelligent documents, and what these intelligent documents consisted of was basically a written statement that they were going to attack Guadalcanal. So when they got a hold of this, they were able to send men, send troops, Marines, sailors, everyone else to guard Guadalcanal, and actually were successful in not having a even worse attack than they already had. Okay, so with special operations being a kind of dirty job, I guess if you could say, there's going to be a lot of blood spilled. But one of the bloodiest battles that the Raiders had was called Bloody Ridge. It was basically they were guarding a ridge, and it got overran by Japanese. They lost 40 men through casualties, and then 130 were wounded. So if you think about that in the grand scheme of things, in the Marines, they were probably about 220 strong. That doesn't seem like a lot, but when you have 5 to 10 people per group, per team, special operating team, that's when it starts to get complicated. And so if you look at it, about a 1/16 of their manpower was just dwindled down. March 15, 1943, the 1st Marine Raider Battalion was formed, regiment was formed. And then shortly after, not even, 11 months later, February of 1944, they called Raiders off. They basically said, you're not going to be doing it anymore. So they basically forced them to become an infantry battalion that were stationed overseas. Fast forward to June 2003, they ran a trial mission with Naval Special Operation Warfare. So basically what they were trying to see is, hey, do the Marines work well with the Delta Force, with the SEALs, with the Rangers, with Army Special Forces, and they were deemed that they were good to go. They're an asset basically to the Special Operations Command. So they were found to be effective. The Secretary of Defense, was then called a formation of a Marine Special Operation Command in 2005. And this was basically going to have to be compiled of 2,500 individuals that would make up this Special Operation Command. 2006 was formed. They had the Special Operation Command in Camp Lejeune was formed. And then in 2009, they formed the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd Special Operation Battalion. So it was not just one battalion on the East Coast. Now it's one in the East Coast, one on the West Coast, and one overseas. MARSOC operators are skilled individuals that are highly trained and are ready at a moment's notice. Their routes vary from a short-lived yet victorious mission to a newly formed Special Operations Command. They serve as critical asset to the Special Operations community and will continue as long as necessary. Always faithful, always forward. Thank you.
Very good.